episode number three of the weekly charting sessions where I go over 10 Forex pairs on the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hour time frame, analyze them, and then provide some sort of outlook for the following week or for the upcoming week, if you will. If you do like this video, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel. If you do have questions, feel free to drop a comment in the comments below or send me a message on Telegram. My Telegram link will be in the description. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. You will see right now I have EUR USD on the weekly time frame up on the screen. We do have a deep crab that's been drawn in the previous two episodes. It's still valid. You'll notice that we do have some consolidation going on EU. Last week was bearish. The previous week was bullish, but we did have a good rejection the previous week on the weekly time frame. So we're expecting this to go a little bit bearish this week. I want to see the bearish continue though, the bearish momentum continue downward before selling this. But we do expect this deep crab to complete at some point in time. We could see a retest of this trend line drawn above before continuing downward, however. Let's go ahead and go to the daily time frame. Looking at the daily time frame, you see we have this triple top right here. So price is definitely consolidating. So now we just got to wait and see if price is going to reach this trend line above and break above the previous high, or if it's going to come down and retest this trend line down here. And if it does break this trend line down here, that's when I will be looking for sells. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see a more clearly defined triple top right here. I have another trend line drawn on the 4-hour time frame. So if we do see a break of this trend line on the 4-hour time frame, I will short it to this trend line down here, or at least to this support and resistance level right here. And if we see a clear-cut bounce off of this trend line, then I will buy it up to these levels again. That's what we're looking at with EUR USD on the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hour. Alright, next up is USD JPY. We do have a Gartley drawn on the weekly time frame. You'll see we had a break of this trend line last week, and then we have a candlestick that tries to retest that trend line and fails. And so it looks like we should go bearish next week. We're just waiting to see if this level where I have this horizontal line drawn is broken. You see that retested previous market structure over here. So hopefully we see a break of this level right here and continue downward to the completion of this Gartley. But we could see more bullish momentum because this candlestick right here, the last week's candlestick, did not reach this this previous trend line drawn, or where the candlestick broke through the week before. Let's go down to the daily time frame. We can see it a little bit clearer. You'll see that it did retest previous market structure, like I stated on the weekly time frame. And once it did retest that market structure, it did try to retest this trend line. However, it did not reach the trend line, and then we got this bearish engulfing candle from Thursday. So we could see, you could consider this a retest. It's not necessarily because it didn't actually touch this trend line, but it's retesting this structure. That it's close enough to reaching this this trend line that we can consider it a retest. I do want to see one more bearish candlestick. However, even though this bearish engulfing candle is strong, I do want to see one more bearish candlestick before I sell this, and preferably see it break this level right here. Let's and there is a crab pattern that's valid that completes around the same place that the Gartley pattern completes on the weekly time frame. This crab pattern on the daily time frame completes around the same level. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that I do have this trend line drawn. So we're waiting to see if price breaks this trend line or not, obviously. So it's just kind of a waiting game to see what UJ is going to do. I want more confirmation on which direction it's going to go. It does look good for sells across the board, but I want to see this level broken down here before I'm selling until we complete both the crab pattern on the daily time frame and the Gartley pattern on the weekly time frame. But that being said, I do expect both of those to complete. Market structure looks good on the 4-hour time frame for selling. Now we're just waiting for confirmation once this trend line's broken and retested, and then this level down here is broken and retested as well. That's what we're looking at with USD JPY. XAU USD on the weekly time frame will be next. We do have a zone drawn right here, which price currently has rejected. Last week's candle rejected that area again. So we have multiple rejections of this zone across the board over the last, I don't know, about last year. 3 rejections of this zone that we have drawn. There's a butterfly pattern that completes right above that zone. I do have this trend line drawn, and this trend line, and this trend line. So we have 3 trend lines drawn for a price to break through going down, as well as this horizontal level or horizontal line right here. And then we do have the butterfly pattern that completes above the zone that's drawn. Dropping down to the daily time frame, we can see more clearly the rejections of that zone. I did resize the zone to make it appropriate for the daily time frame, or else it would have been huge. And I do that commonly. You'll notice that my zone sizes will change from time frame to time frame, and the reason for that is if you leave the weekly time frame on the daily time frame, it would take up 300, 400, 500 pips, and so we don't want that. So this is just a little bit more accurate for the specific time frame, which is why you'll notice that it's drawn a little bit differently. You can clearly see the 3 trend lines that I have drawn that price has to break through if it goes bearish. We're hoping that the pattern completes before going bearish, however, and so I do want to see some bullish momentum break through this strong zone. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, price is right on this this trend line that I have drawn. I did add a zone. I can't zoom out, or else I would show you where the zone is drawn off of, but I can guarantee that it's just previous market structure that the zone's drawn off of. So we're looking for a break in a retest and then a continuation down to the zone, or the trend line drawn below the zone, and or a bounce off of this trend line and then a breakthrough of this zone up here. So one of those 2 scenarios is what we're looking for. We're really just waiting to see what's going to happen. Market structure, we have this double top right here, higher high right here, or excuse me, a higher low right here, higher low right here. We're thinking, although if it does break below this, then we could see a lower low, and this could just be like a resting point for this leg. So yeah, that's what we're looking for with XAU USD or gold. Alright, next up is EUR AUD on the weekly time frame. We do have a bat pattern drawn. Was drawn last week as well. You'll notice that last week we had another doji, so that's 3 dojis in a row after this massive bullish engulfing candle that engulfed a significant amount of time, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. That whole candle engulfed it. So we're waiting for either continuation of this bullish engulfing candle that we have right here, or a retest of this trend line over here, whichever one comes first. If we do get bullish momentum this week, then we should see a break of this trend line drawn and a retest before completing this bat pattern. Dropping down to the daily time frame, you'll see I have the same consolidation box that I've had drawn in the last 2 weeks of videos, and it'll be more prominent on the 4-hour time frame. But I don't trade consolidation. It's just not, I'm not a fan of it, and so I wait for a breakout of this box, preferably to the upside, because that is what would make the most sense, is a breakout to the upside. Right, we're in a clear bullish trend, and so we want to see a continuation of this bullish trend. However, we could get a retest of this trend line, and then we're waiting for the completion of this pattern. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, Like I said, it's more prominent, this area of consolidation now. I'm waiting for a breakout of this box is basically what I'm doing with EUR AUD. I haven't traded EUR AUD in the last 2 weeks because it's been in this box. So once price breaks below this box and either retests this area above or below, and then continues upward, I will stay away from EUR AUD until it does that. So just waiting patiently for EUR AUD to decide what it is it wants to do. GBP NZD is next on the docket. We have a zone drawn that price is currently in. We also have a couple of trend lines drawn and a bat pattern drawn. We are looking for price to break this trend line to the upside to complete the bat pattern. However, like I said, we are in this zone right here, which is based off of these candlesticks or these retests over here to this same zone, as well as this right here. And so we're just waiting to see what GBP NZD is going to do, whether it's going to reject off of this trend line and head to the downside, or if it's going to finally break through this and start the route to completing this bat pattern that is drawn. Dropping down to the daily time frame, you can see the multiple retests to this trend line, as well as this zone that's drawn on the daily time frame. You'll notice it's a little different spot than it was on the weekly time frame. It's just easier to draw, or it's different to draw, I suppose, is the more accurate way to say that on the daily time frame. But it's based off of the same thing, previous market structure to the left. You'll notice that on the daily time frame, the price is retesting this zone. On the weekly time frame, price is in that zone. So obviously the zones are drawn a little bit different. We do know that price right here is around this zone. Really, we could use this supply and demand zone, or excuse me, support and resistance level right here, as this whole thing could be a zone. It's just depending on what time frame you want to look at, the weekly time frame or the daily time frame. So both of these are correct. They're both valid. It's just depending on what time frame you're wanting to trade off of. So you'll notice that I added another trend line to the daily time frame, creating this wedge that it has to break out of, either to the upside or the downside. So price will do that this week. I'm confident of that. We're just waiting for which side it's going to break out of. So is it going to break up to the upside and continue the completion of this bat pattern, or is it going to break down and possibly retest this trend line drawn down here? As long as it does not break the C level right here, then we are good to go. If it breaks the C level, then this bat pattern becomes invalid. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, this zone is even more refined on the 4-hour time frame. Same thing. This is the same trend line that I have drawn on the daily, same trend line I have drawn on the daily and the weekly, same support and resistance level, and the zone, like I said, is more refined. So we're just looking to see if market structure is going to make a higher high or a lower low, in which case either direction it will be breaking one of these trend lines. We're looking for a break and a retest, and then a continuation to the upside or the downside, resulting in a higher high or a lower low. That's what we're looking at with GBP NZD this week. Alright, now we are starting the 5 charts that were suggested that I go over, or requested that I go over from the people that watch these videos, right? The people that I interact with on a daily basis. If you're not familiar with how this works, the way that it works is I take suggestions, right? And what I see suggested most, those are the charts that I go over for that coming week. So the first 5 charts that I go over are charts that I go over every single week. They're the charts that I trade the most, or the charts that I like the most. And so I will go over those every single week. Those being EU, UJ, Gold, EA, and either GA or GN, which you'll notice this week I go over both. But then the last 5 charts that I do are charts that are requested by my students or requested by other individuals that I speak with or I ask for recommendations for, and so if you want to see a certain pair charted, either drop a comment in the comments down below or send me a message on Telegram. Send a message in the TPS group chat. Either any of those things, any of those avenues will get you to where you want to be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at AUD USD on the weekly time frame. A pretty simple chart here. You'll notice I have one supply and demand zone drawn and one support and resistance level drawn, 2 trend lines, and that's it. So price is currently kind of right in the middle of a move is what I am interpreting with this. So we could see up or down movement, bullish or bearish movement based on the weekly time frame. Let's drop down. On the daily time frame, we do have a Gartley that completes right around the trend line level. And you'll notice with my harmonic patterns, I draw these boxes. That's because the pattern can complete inside of this box. This would be the highest level or the highest price that the pattern could complete, and this being the lowest price that the pattern can complete. And then if you're trading based off of harmonic pattern completions, which I don't recommend doing, but let's just say that that's what you are doing, then you'll wait for price to enter this area, and then you'll set your stop loss probably below where the X level is, and your take profit based off of Fibonacci levels. So that's how you trade harmonic completions, or that's how I would trade harmonic completions. Like I said, I don't necessarily recommend doing that. I like trading C to D legs better than I like trading harmonic completions, because typically with harmonic patterns, the C to D leg is either a higher high or a lower low in the direction of the trend. And so I don't trade against trend or against the trend on higher time frames. I scalp against the trend sometimes. I try not to even do that, but higher time frame trades, I don't go against the trend, and so I don't recommend trading the decompletion or the retracement after the completion of harmonic patterns. However, it's a popular thing. I know that people do it, and so that's how you do it. Make sure that you're using good judgment and you understand what it is that you're doing. If you're not familiar with doing something, my biggest recommendation is try it out before you actually are investing in ways that you don't fully understand. And the easiest way to do that is open up a demo account and then test things out that way. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, go ahead and send me a message on Telegram, leave a comment in the description below or in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to help you. You can always visit the ProfitSocietyFXC.com as well. That is the academy, the Forex Trading Academy that I am involved with. I'm a teacher there, and so we can get you set up to learn more about what you're seeing on my charts and what I'm talking about through TPS education. But back to AUD USD, let's drop down to the 4-hour time frame. You can see I have this trend line drawn. It's a continuation from X to B. I just continue that trend line. We're waiting for price to break through that trend line before I sell to the D leg. That's usually how I trade the C to D, is I wait for the X to B level or continuation of trend line from that to be broken, and then more often than not you can sell or buy to the D leg or the completion of the pattern. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm not blind to the fact though that we could see just rejections, continued rejections off of this trend line, so that's the reason why it's drawn, and that's the reason why I have not entered into any sort of trade yet. You'll notice that the arrows represent what I think will happen or what could possibly happen, right? Going back up to this zone potentially before breaking through this trend line, or just completely, if it makes a higher high above this C level, then this Gartley is not valid, and so we won't even be trading to the D level because this pattern would become invalid. Like I said, if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about with AUD, USD, send me a message on Telegram, and I'll do my best to provide you with more information, answer your questions that you might have, and guide you to the TPS education so that you can get a full understanding of what I'm talking about. But that's AUD, USD for this week. Alright, next up is GBP USD on the weekly time frame. You'll notice that the bat pattern is still drawn. Last week we had bullish momentum to start out the week, or excuse me, bearish momentum to start out the week, bullish momentum to finish out the week. It did end up slightly bearish, however, we do have a wick to the downside and a slight wick to the upside as well. I think this is pretty much exactly the same as it was drawn last week. The candlestick didn't really make any significant progress, bullish or bearish. So we are looking for either a retest of this trend line down here or a retest of this trend line up here, in a breakthrough either one. Going to the daily time frame, same things pretty much here. I added one more trend line. So we're looking for, if it goes bearish, we're looking for a break and a retest of that trend line and then a continuation down to here. This horizontal line just represents previous market structure, and everything else was on the weekly time frame. Dropping down to the 4 hour, you'll notice I do have a bat pattern drawn that was not drawn last week, I do not believe, and the arrows represent where price needs to travel. This, to complete this bat pattern, the 4 hour bat pattern that's drawn out, we need to see a few breaks and retests of some trend lines that are drawn, which me personally, the way that I would trade this is, if I wasn't in this already, I'd wait for a break and a retest of this trend line, and then I would enter on the retest of this trend line. I would enter again on the retest of this trend line, and I would set my take profit level for the highest point of the bat completion. And my stop loss would be set somewhere above previous market structure. So the stop loss would be pretty large with this. You're looking at like a 1 to 1.5 risk to reward ratio trading this, which is pretty bad. However, if you do get to break in the retest of this, you can start dropping down your stop loss as the trade goes. So diminishing risk as the trade goes in your direction. However, you do want to make sure that you do have that stop loss level set. That way you are protecting yourself from substantial loss. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for with GBP USD on this coming week, excuse me. Next up, EUR JPY. You'll notice that I have two trend lines drawn, two horizontal lines drawn, or supply and demand, or one supply and demand zone, two support and resistance levels. What exactly are we looking for? The arrows pretty much depict what I'm looking for. I do anticipate this to continue dropping at least to this zone before continuing upward. However, we could get even a retest of this trend line. That would be probably months away, however, so don't look too much into this retest of this trend line down here. Immediately, we're looking for more bearish movement. However, we could see some sort of bullish retracement this coming week because of the previous market structure over here, which should be more prominent on the daily time frame, which it is. You'll notice where price is, retesting market structure over here. The zone is also based off of market structure. All three of these zones are based off of market structure, and then these two horizontal lines are based off of weekly market structure. So we're looking for price to react off of the zone that it is currently in, either to the upside or the downside. If it does go bullish, we're looking for some sort of retest up here. We could see a retest of these levels up here, or right here as well. I don't have a zone drawn right there because honestly that's just really cluttered, but you could see a slight retracement up to these levels before continuing downward. It probably wouldn't even make the EMAs cross, honestly, if it just came up and retested the 134.5 area. somewhere around there. But I do think that this is going to continue to go bearish, retesting this zone. However, we're going to wait and see what price tells us. Going to the 4-hour time frame, can see that the last 4-hour candlestick from last week was slight bullish engulfing in that zone, and so we should see some more bullish movement to start the week out. I do have this trend line drawn, so if we do see bullish momentum, we want to see at least that trend line broken and retested before continuing upward. Everything from the upper time frames is relevant to this chart right now, so just be aware. We're following price. We're waiting for candlesticks to confirm which direction price is going, and we're waiting for retests of whichever direction this wants to go, whether it's bullish or bearish. We want to see a breakout of this zone, a retest of the zone, and then a continuation down, or a breakout of this trend line and this zone to the upside, a retest of the trend line or the zone, or both, and then a continuation upward. That's what we're looking at with EUR JPY. AUD JPY, our third JPY pair this week, will be next. So we have a bat pattern drawn. We do have this break of this trend line on the weekly time frame, which I do expect to be retested in the coming weeks. So we could see that this week. We could see some bullish momentum trying to retest this trend line. However, we could see a completion of this bat pattern before we see any sort of retracement back up to this trend line. That's how crazy it can be. Retests can take weeks or months, but more often than not, almost every single time you will see a retest. It could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years, but you will see a retest of this trend line before it continues downward. So just be aware of that. So with AJ this week, I'm looking for probably more bearish momentum coming down into this zone before continuing upward, or continuing, I shouldn't say continuing upward, before going bullish and retesting this trend line up here. However, we could see a completion of the bat pattern that is drawn before we see any sort of bullish momentum. Let's take a look at the daily. You'll see we have this quad top right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retests up here on this zone. We do have the break of this trend line that I have drawn, which is not very well drawn, but whatever. Yeah, it's close enough. So like I said before, we're looking for price to either come down, touch the zone, and go upward, or just go bullish from where it is, or third option is coming down and completing the bat pattern, then going bullish. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, I added one trend line just for reference. If we do see bullish momentum, it has to break this trend line before I will be buying for sure. Price could, and I expect that it probably will touch this trend line before continuing downward to this supply and demand zone that I have drawn down here before going bullish. But price can do what it wants, so we're waiting for candlestick analysis and either a break of this trend line or respect of this trend line before continuing downward, one or the other. And finally, chart number 10 will be GBP AUD. As I alluded to earlier, we do have 2 trend lines drawn, 3 supply and demand zones drawn. Price last week retested the supply and demand zone in the middle and is currently retesting a trend line to the upside as well. So as this wedge closes in on where price is, we're looking for price to break out of this wedge either to the upside or the downside. You'll notice that price has retested this trend line 3 times. However, the last week was the 3rd retest, and then 2 weeks before that was the 2nd retest. So I don't consider this trend line to be extremely strong, but it is still relevant. So we are looking for some sort of break and retest of this trend line. However, the trend line down below, or below where price is a stronger trend line in my opinion. Both of them are relevant. The zones are also relevant. Let's drop down on time frame. On the daily time frame, we do have a crab pattern that completes around the same area or the same zone drawn up here, which is relevant with the market structure over here. As I said in the weekly time frame, price is currently retesting this zone drawn right here. So what we're looking for is price to either break above this trend line or break below this trend line and react off of the zone. It looks more likely that we're going to see it to the upside. However, that's not always the case. We could see more bearish momentum before continuing upward. Let's go down to the 4-hour time frame. It's much easier to see on the 4-hour time frame. I added one trend line. But yeah, this is what we're looking at. I do kind of expect this to go bullish just because of the crab pattern that's drawn over here. However, I'm not blind to the fact that it can go bearish, so I'm waiting for some sort of confirmation, either the breakout of the top or the breakout of the bottom of these trend lines, which I do expect to see sometime this week. Got a close eye on GA this week, hoping to see a break and a retest of this level up here on the 4-hour time frame. Now, that completes our 10 charts for this week. As I said in the very beginning, if you found this video helpful, please like this video, subscribe down below. I do have some giveaways coming up. I do have some exciting news, as well as some more content for this channel. Everything's in the works. It's just making time to make it all happen, making it all come together. So yeah, some fun things, some exciting things that I have planned for the future, and I don't want you guys to miss out. So like I said, please subscribe down below, like this video. I'm thinking once we reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a pretty large giveaway. So share this video with your friends, your family, and let's just go over what the point of these videos are. Really quickly, this video and the prior week's videos and the weeks to come, all of these videos are to help your analysis. I'm not making this analysis for you. I'm providing my insight on all of these charts and all these pairs. The reason why I'm only doing larger time frames is because I'm not going to make videos every single day, right? I'm not going to focus on anything less than the 4-hour time frame for these videos because these are weekly overviews. I could do daily videos on lower time frames in the future, but I'm not going to do that right now. And what you should be getting out of these videos are, it should be supporting your analysis. Maybe pointing stuff out that you didn't exactly notice. One thing that I've noticed with the Forex community is that a lot of people don't take time to look at higher time frames, and that's extremely important. You see the bigger picture with higher time frames, and I want to bring the light onto that. So if you're not taking time to look at the weekly time frame, the daily time frame, even the 4-hour time frame, you need to make time to look at those so you see the bigger picture of what's going on with price. A lot of times people stay so fixated on the 15-minute, the 1-hour time frame, and that's what they trade off of, and they don't ever look at the weekly time frame or the daily time frame. And the reason why that's hurting them is because you could see something like a bullish engulfing candle on the weekly time frame, but you won't see that as dominantly on these lower time frames, because you'll be looking at micro structure, and you know that's not helping you when you're trading. Even when you're scalping, that's not helping you. You know, because you could be selling on the 15-minute time frame when the daily and the weekly time frames are clearly saying buy, and then you get burnt and you really don't understand why. And the reason why is because you're not taking time to look at the bigger picture, looking at the higher time frames to really understand where the overall trend is and what the overall big picture is, and that's extremely important when trading, specifically in Forex. So like I said, if you have any questions, any comments, anything, feel free to reach out at me. I'm on Telegram. I'll link my Telegram username below so you can send me a message on there. I will also link the Profit Society website and the Profit Society group chat down below. We're also on Facebook. I might link that in the description as well. But I use Telegram more dominantly than I use any Facebook anything. And yeah, that's about it. So like and subscribe. Be looking for more information on give outs. Be looking for more content as we get rolling. And that's it. So thank you for your time, guys. Hope you have a good trading week. I'm out.